Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Freedom Stories. And today we're going to talk about leverage. And we have Alex Marsolais here, and she runs a transaction coordination company here in the state of Minnesota, Minnesota Transaction Coordinators. And she's going to share her journey of using her business to get what she wants out of life and to gain both time freedom and financial freedom. And so her story, she started out as an assistant TC for a market center up in Alaska, and then came to Minnesota here and started in 2015. And since then, she's grown from being a solo person to now having a staff of about 17 people. And this year they'll close north of probably 2,000 transactions. So welcome, Alex. We're so excited to have you. And why don't you just share a little bit more about you?
Thanks, Mike. I'm thrilled. Thank you for asking me to do this. I really appreciate the opportunity. You covered a lot of my background. Started in real estate in June of 2013. And initially I thought maybe I'd want to be a real estate agent someday, and very quickly realized I am passionate about the admin side of things. Not to say that I think I could be a real estate agent. And I realized how much real estate agents need help on the back end when it comes to leverage. And I tried a few different positions when I first got started and found transaction coordination. And that was the one that really spoke to me. I got to help many real estate agents, not just on a team or a single agent. I got to help many different real estate agents and many different businesses. And it's fun to see how, as a transaction coordinator, we can really affect their lives and their businesses. And then since starting MTC, now it's also affecting our lives and our businesses internally too. So started as an assistant transaction coordinator, and eventually it was time for us to move back home here to Minnesota. I looked at a few different opportunities, and ultimately I decided that going the business owner route was the one that I wanted to do. And it was because I wanted the freedom. Funny that this is, the Real Freedom podcast. That was the word that came to mind for me when I started Minnesota Transaction Coordinators. Initially, it was a little selfish, as I think many of us can be when we start businesses. We don't think about the opportunities that we'll create for people in the future. I didn't think I would make my first hire until 5 years into the business. So at the time, I felt okay being a little selfish with the goal. I knew that starting a family was something that was really important to me and something that was going to be in the cards in the next, 5 to 7 years or so. And I didn't like the thought of anyone telling me how much time I could take. That was the big driver for me. I knew someday this is going to happen. And I don't only want to take 6 weeks or 8 weeks or what have you. And that was really the drive when I started the business. And we'll get into all of this. I can keep going if you'd like me to. As I started to build my team, I realized I can provide that level of freedom not only for myself and also for my team. They can get that too. And that was a really almost intoxicating feeling where it's like, now I can start to build this for my team and see how far can we push this to get them freedom and flexibility in their lives, and also give that freedom and flexibility to our clients, to the agents that we're working with. And it's been a really exciting journey over the last 5 years just to see how far we can push that.
Yeah. And I think, there's a few things that come to mind here, just thinking about your story is, a lot of times the person that is in the admin type role, they like safe stability. And then with that comes too, like you said, just somebody that's probably calling the shots more because you're employed by them or whatever that looks like. And so you have that wiring to say, I don't want that to happen for me. And yet at the same time, a lot of times, being a business owner means putting yourself out there and stretching. And so there's a little bit, everybody has a different personality, and you have a unique mix here of, you love doing the admin type roles, you love supporting others, and yet at the same time, you do want that, you have the entrepreneurial mindset to want to do those things and have the freedom that comes with it. And so it's been fun to see how the business has grown for you, and how you can really help serve others, because in the real estate community, I think we would all agree that a lot of times admin feel a little bit like a doormat at times, right? That people can step on them and they can dictate, hey, I want to do this. Nights, weekends, like I need you nights, weekends, and everywhere in between. And you found a way to still provide that level of service that agents want, and yet mix it with how do you have admin that are okay in the spaces that they're in. And so you really see this from all sides, and you see the longevity piece of, I want staff that are going to stick around long term. And if we just have the agent or the team calling the shots of, when I need you, how I need you, and all that, it's an unhealthy mix. And so finding that balance. Why don't you talk a little bit about that part of the business, because it's a tough spot to be in, and you have to say, look, here's what we'll do for you when we'll do it, and finding that balance where they agree to it, obviously, to use you for the services that you provide.
So talking about how we serve agents and how that comes into play, especially in nights and weekends, because here in real estate, it is not just Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Wouldn't it be great if it was? And that's not our industry. That's not what we do.
Right.
So from the beginnings of the company, originally I was planning on building a business that was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And very quickly, I think 3 months in, I was working from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m., Sunday through Sunday for our agents, just because our value proposition, our approach as a transaction coordination company is a little different than most. Our team jumps in from contract through close. And for us, contract is listing contract or buyer rep all the way through closing. So we're working on every single offer that our agents are submitting. And right now in the spring market, sometimes it's 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 offers before an offer gets accepted. And we're right there with the agents. Initially, it was just me working those hours. And eventually I had to start hiring daytime staff because we had enough agents and enough transactions that I couldn't manage it anymore. That's what pushed me to make my first hire. That was 10 months into the business. And honestly, it probably should have been closer to 3 or 4 months into the business. I just it felt too soon. I didn't think I was ready. I was 22 when I started this business, and I didn't think I had any right to be hiring my first hire 3 or 4 months into the business. And I'm glad I pulled the trigger when I did. And I think it was our second full year in the business is when I finally hired a night and weekend coordinator. So someone to specifically assist agents outside of our, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We're currently hiring a second night and weekend coordinator. So within the next few weeks, we should have coverage Monday through Friday until 9 p.m. and then 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So pretty good coverage for our agents. And that's our biggest value add. We don't charge per offer written. There's no fee or anything like that. We're right there with the agents. And it's fun to see them when they win. Like it's exciting when they reach out and they're, hey, I just got done showing this property. So sorry to ask, but offers are due in 30 minutes. Can you please jump in and help me get this done? We're able to get it done on time. And then they call us an hour later and say, I got it. Like my clients got it. That is one of the most exciting conversations that we get to see. And we get to see that conversation a couple of times every single week.
How do you balance that when the agent has the relationship with the client? And obviously we're in a very competitive market here. And so kind of understanding their timing and motivation, kind of what levers you can pull financially to make things happen for each client. Some clients have the ability to do that, some don't. And so how do you best serve them to create the custom best offer that client can put forth to give them the best chance to win?
Yeah. So our agents are always the ones who handle the negotiations. They tell us the terms and then we'll enter it for them, create the paperwork, send it out for signing, and then we'll submit it to the listing agent once it's fully signed. Our agents generally are working with people who are writing serious offers.
Right.
Sometimes those people are FHA and they're first-time home buyers, and maybe they don't have a great down payment and they need help with seller pays. And that's okay. We're still going to write that offer with them. One of the things I've started doing this year is going through on a weekly basis and tracking what offers are getting accepted and how, what the terms are, what's most likely to get accepted, and trying to share that with our agents so they can share it with their clients and at least educate them.
Right.
Sometimes the clients can only do so much, and that's just part of it. I think it was 2 years ago, we had an FHA buyer where it took 16 offers before we finally had a deal come together. And when we did, that client was a raving fan of that agent. And I think they've sent them a ton of other clients to work with. Yeah, you kind of do what you can in the market. And we try to do what we can to help educate the agents on here's what's winning, here's what we're seeing, here's some unique things that we see with offers, just to give them any leg up that we can on the competition. And I still really feel for the agents and for the buyers. It's a tricky market out there right now.
Yeah, and hats off to you for finding a need in the market, because there is so many people out there that do listings and transaction coordination that are that 9 to 5. And so, like you said, this is a very distinct differentiator between anybody else, because you get to help with that piece of the business. And it comes with a cost. So I know from an entrepreneurial perspective, you have to figure out how to make that profitable, and how to make that a win both for the agent. Because if you ask the agent, hey, would you like it if I helped you with offers on nights and weekends? They would say yes.
Yeah,
And
sign
yet,
me up.
yeah, that could be enough to bring your business down completely, trying to figure out how to do that. So you have to balance the win for the business with the win for the client.
Yeah. So I'm the type of person where I'm always tracking different data and metrics inside of the business. Finances being a big one. So especially here in Minnesota, most agents experience the same thing we experience in our business. Only 10% or so of all real estate transactions occur in quarter one for us. So the rest of the entire year, I'm storing away as much money as I possibly can to offset all of our costs in quarter one. My philosophy is I'm never going to lay anybody off. I'm never going to cut hours. I'm never going to put my team in a position because I didn't plan appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very on top of my books, and I've taught a few financial classes, and I've co-taught a few financial classes too. It's a topic I'm especially passionate about, and I've not always been good at it. It took time for me to get good at this skill. For anyone who's maybe struggling or feels like they could get a better grip on their books, I'd highly recommend starting with Profit First
Mm-hmm.
by Mike. I'll butcher his last name. Maybe you know it, Mike. Mike McAllowitz or something
Yep.
along those lines.
Yep.
Um, it's a fabulous read, and it's such an easy place to start. Such an easy way to start putting money aside, and also to make sure you're actually paying yourself as a business owner too, which a lot of people don't do. So I'm always tracking, profitability of the business. I can tell you our exact profit margin on any single transaction, and I can tell you when we can justify another hire and when we can't. That's why we're just now adding that second night and weekend coordinator. Finally, there was enough profitability in the business where we could justify that hire.
Let's go back a little bit to the beginning and talk about how you were able to find business, because I know that's tough, especially for people in admin type roles. You're maybe wired a little bit more to be on. I kind of have a differentiator between a little bit more hunter perspective versus gatherer perspective, right? And a lot of times admins like to be gatherers, because it's like, throw all your mess at me and I'll make it organized. And it's difficult sometimes to kind of put on that hunter mentality to go find more business. And yet I know too, a lot of people, the finding of the business comes with how well you handle the business that's provided to you to begin with. So talk about those early years and how you're able to get word out there, find clients, find business to where it grew to as quickly as it has over these last 5 years.
Yeah. So I have a really, I'm kind of a hybrid of what you just described, the hunter and the gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
I love to take other people's messes and clean it up, but that's not my innate strong suit. When I started in real estate, I was able to kind of fake that part of my personality
Mm-hmm.
until I got to about year two, year three at MTC. And then I realized every person I've ever hired is better at the job than I am when it comes to transaction coordination, night and
Mm-hmm.
weekend coordination, processing. Although it's what I really like, it's not what I'm good at. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fabulous at the relationship building, at the visioning of the business, at the leadership, at the tone and culture of our company. So when I started Minnesota Transaction Coordinators, I was really, really lucky. I had a few people who were raving fans. Even if they hadn't used our service, they were really supportive of what we were doing, and they saw the value that it could bring to an office or to an agent or a team. And they did some really powerful introductions for me.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, I had an agent who I had met with her, and I told her I need a month to finish finalizing my setup and to get everything ready to run transactions. And she's like, no, I have a pending and you're going to take it right now. Like, she caught me in between using the restroom at my desk, and she handed me a paper file and said, I think she said, I'm going out of town. Here's this file. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the best piece of empowerment ever. I got thrown into it and I just had to figure it out because I wasn't going to let her or her sellers down. I still remember that first property address. And from there, it was just asking for introductions. I'm not the type of person where I'm afraid to ask for a referral or a connection. That's what works really well for me. I call it not working networking. It doesn't feel like I'm working, I'm just building relationships. And since the start of this company, one of my favorite questions is, what can I do to help you? And a lot of times people aren't prepared for that question. And it's always genuine. And it's never, can I take your files? Can I run your transactions for you? It's, are you hiring right now? Do you need help finding a great admin? Because I have a good database of talent. Is it you need a new CRM? Are you looking for recommendations? Do you need a coach? Are you looking for recommendations? So just helping point people in the right direction for whatever it is they're looking for. And coming from that approach and just genuinely wanting to build a relationship was the foundation of building this business. After about 2 years is when we really started to see a lot of agents from the other side of our transactions reaching out and saying, your team crushed it. I've worked with, many transaction coordination companies. None have been as communicative as yours. I've loved this process and I'd like to work with you too. That's when we really started to see that sort of communication, just because we started to get a lot more files and a lot more quantity out in the market. And with that exposure, it's brought a lot of new business. So at this point today, I would be willing to bet 35 to 40% are original agents or Alex Metz and referrals. And I'd bet another 30 to 35% are agents on the other side of the transaction who have reached out and said, I want to be in business with you.
I still remember that we had in my past team where we had a transaction, and the auto email that came, or the email that came to us was actually our transaction coordinator's email that he had created sending out to people. And so, imitation is the best form of flattery there, where they essentially took your systems and copied it and used it back. And so in this way, you're giving the best audition that you can by serving other people well. And yeah, sometimes, a lot of times you'll hear great admins say, well, I feel like I'm doing their job for them. Well, here you're just auditioning for a potential chance to work for them in the future, because if you're knocking it out of the park and they're like, man, Alex and her team are all over it, pretty soon, because turnover is inevitable, both on the agent side and on the admin side. And there's just a period of time where that staff member is probably going to have a need in their business because somebody quit, something didn't work out, or or they're growing and they have that gap there. And so you can be a way to get your foot in the door and show how you can take over for that. So you just have to be consistent over time, and eventually that window is going to open up for you to be able to grow.
Exactly. And that's why you build a relationship. That's why you're having correspondence and communications with these people. You never know when that moment's going to be where they do need help. And when they do need help, I'd like to be the company that they think of. I think over the last year or so, we've helped cover maternity leave for 2 or 3 teams. And they're high producing teams, and they already have an in-house transaction coordinator. And they need some temporary help filling in, even in that capacity, or just being a short-term stepping stone. We're super happy to jump in wherever and however we can for a real estate team.
We're going to take a brief pause from our episode for a second. Hi, this is Mike Swenson. In addition to running this podcast, I also run a real estate team. And as you may know, there's lots of great agents across the United States, and there's also some agents that aren't so great. So what I want to do for you is to put you in touch with a top-notch agent no matter where you live. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in a home anywhere in the United States, we're here for you. Fill out our form at eliteagentreferral.com, and we'll put you in touch with a top-notch professional agent no matter which state you live in. And if you happen to live in the state of Minnesota, we'll be happy to serve your real estate needs. So make sure that you reach out to me at eliteagentreferral.com, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with a top-notch professional agent and give you great service no matter where you live in the United States. Thanks. Now back to our episode. So talk a little bit about your team's growth then, the people that you've hired and how their journey has grown with the company.
One thing that's been really important to me since the start of this business, I've worked with hundreds of real estate agents at this point. And real estate agents, like I said at the beginning, I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I love that hunter mentality where they are so focused on building relationships, negotiating contracts. Most agents aren't great at details, and they're not great at the paperwork. The other thing that a lot of agents aren't great at, just because they weren't prepared for this piece when they start becoming a real estate agent, is the business side. And a lot of times agents, whether it's intentional or accidental, grow their businesses larger than themselves. They can no longer handle the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And there sometimes comes a point where they hire in-house and they've never taken a management class before or a training class before. They don't know how to hire. They don't know their state's laws and that sort of stuff. And it's a lot. When you hire somebody, your responsibility becomes that person. It becomes their paycheck to support not only them, but potentially their family. If they have
Mm-hmm.
a child, sending their child to soccer, paying their mortgage, groceries, what have you. And I found myself a couple of times through being in real estate that my agent couldn't pay me. And I loved the job and I loved the agent enough that I said, I'm going to stick it through. I was in a position where I was okay missing a paycheck or something along those lines. And I never want to put my team in a position where that's the conversation that we
Mm-hmm.
have. So since the beginning, my perspective on when I hired, which at first I thought it would be 5 years, when I hired, they would never miss a paycheck. They would never have a lack of dependability on the job security or, the ability to pay them or their ability to grow or anything inside of the company. And then from there, I wanted to give opportunities for people to grow. I have an amazing team. They are truly incredible. Like, this is a solid team. And I desire to continue to build a company where there's not an income limit to what they can make. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like, hey, you come in, you start at 40, you leave, you leave at 45, maybe 50. I'd like to really build a company here where I can pay amazing people what they deserve to be paid and give them the time off that they deserve and
Mm-hmm.
give them the benefits that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So from the beginning, at first I started with one part-time assistant who became a full-time assistant like 2 or 3 weeks into hiring. After we had hired her, it was like, okay, yeah, I do need you full-time. Please help me. And one of the interesting things about our business is there's not a roadmap. There's not a model to follow. There's a few other companies that are larger than mine, and their
Mm-hmm.
models are completely different than mine. Every TC company is a little different. So we do a great job of networking and saying, hey, what are you doing? What's working? What's not? And sharing and just
Mm-hmm.
trying to see what the right model is.
Yep.
Um, so it's been trial and error in figuring out what positions to staff, how to staff them, when to staff them, what the job description should look like. And I think we finally have figured everything out now after about 5 years in business. We figured out, okay, it's this long until we need a transaction coordinator. It's this long
Mm-hmm.
until we need a night and weekend coordinator or a processor or a compliance coordinator, any of the positions inside of the company. And then this last year was the first year that we finally had room for actual positional leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not the only team member who's out of production or not running files anymore. There are currently 5 of us who are not running files. One's about to become 4.5, or it's about to become 4.5. One of them is going to step in and kind of help out with some things. And it's really exciting to have a company where I can have, 4.5, 5 employees who aren't in production, and we can still make their payroll and everybody else's.
And it's a very tricky spot, having been on the backside of real estate teams in the past, because when you talk about, let's just say 2,000 closings this year, you had mentioned, what is it, 10% of your business comes in the first quarter. That means 90% comes in the other 3 quarters. Well, maybe not a lot in the fourth quarter, but yeah, you don't have that consistency where you could just say, okay, X number of files per month. There might be a month where you do double, and then the next month you do half of that, and so it's
Exactly.
this ever evolving process. So that makes business planning extremely difficult, because you're trying to project a trend, and yet month over month it's going to be all over the map, depending on, I tell people in the winter there's a lot of agents that take off. There might be agents on your, and your business is still dependent. Like, your staff aren't going to say, well, my agents take off, so I guess I'll just have to take off then. No, you're still going to have to run payroll. They still would like to get paid in December, even if all the agents on their team decided they wanted to go to Florida for December. And so you still have to plan for that. So there's this moving target that's difficult to project. And yet once you get to a level of scalability, you're able to see that a little bit more clearly. Is that right?
It is correct. And the nice thing about being in business for 5 years is we do have statistics to go back and look year over year. What can we project for January, February, March,
Mm-hmm.
every single month, given the number of current agents that we work with? So we track each individual agent's production. And we track about how many of those files are we actually going to manage, or are they going to manage themselves? And then how many projected files do we think we as a company will close in January, February, March, and so on. And that's why I follow profit first, is so every single dollar that comes in, especially in the last 3 quarters of the year, we're setting aside money. So I know this is exactly how much we have going into Q1 for next year. How many payrolls can we make? Last year was the first year that we got close. And thankfully, we didn't hit zero in the savings account. And that was because COVID hit. So it was March 15th, which is right about the time that our business finally breaks the profitability barrier. And then it was like, okay, we're shutting down, we're quarantining, and everyone in real estate panicked and houses stopped selling for a second. And that's when I turned around to my team and I said, no one's losing their job. No one is getting laid off. We are going to figure this out. I worked really, really hard, really, really quickly over the weekend to put together a 4-point plan, gave it to the team and said, I want any idea. Like, no idea is dumb. Any idea, any suggestion. This is what we are doing before anyone gets laid off, before anyone takes a pay cut, before anyone loses their job. And thankfully, I think we only made it to like step 1.5. We didn't have to go too far because real estate turned around. I'm really thankful for that. I'm also really thankful we have this plan in place. I think we're all kind of waiting for that impending shift that's supposed to happen in the real estate market sometime soon. We've been waiting for it for really the last, 4.5, 5 years almost. And now my team has that plan in place. So again, if a major shift comes to the real estate market, no one's getting laid off. No one's losing their job. We already have the plan.
That's great. So let's talk then about, in terms of freedom. So you've talked a little bit about the freedom with your staff. Yeah. Talk about the freedom for agents. Hey, I am Joe Average Agent and I'm trying to figure this thing out, and how can you help me? And then ultimately, what is that going to do for me financially and in my life working with you?
There's a lot of different ways that our freedom, even internally, affects the freedom for our agents too. So internally, we have a large enough team now that when somebody internally takes a vacation, someone else jumps in and works on behalf of that person. The agent has no idea that their transaction coordinator is out of the office. What that leads to is a lot of stability and consistency for their business. So they're not worried like, oh, Amy's on vacation or Jill's out sick. Everyone is covered. So they can rely on inside of MTC. Nothing is going to get missed. Everything is going to get done, regardless of who's handling my transaction or at what time of the day my transaction is getting done. We also try to take as much control of the transaction as we possibly can. Earlier, you had said something along the lines of, you can sometimes feel like you're doing the other side's work. We're happy to. We'd like to do everything. The sales where we have the buy side and the list side, we know this is going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be great.
You just send emails to yourselves.
Exactly. Yep. So we try to take as much control as we can, especially from our agents. If we see them doing something that we can do, it's like, stop, Mike, stop what you're doing. Don't order that home warranty. Let us take care of that for you. And the thing that I love, especially agents, after we've done a couple of transactions and they feel really confident with our services and they know exactly what we can do, I love getting the emails of, I got to have, breakfast with my kids this morning because I knew your team was handling this for me. I could go and take a vacation on a beach and not actually have my laptop. I could just be gone. I had someone to help me with my showings and I had you to help me with my offers and my transactions. I'm good. My all-time favorite thing, and I wish all of our agents did this. If any of our agents are listening, please do this. We have one agent that when they go on vacation or they're out of the office, their out of the office email is, I'm out of the office, period. Please contact Samantha at MN Transaction Coordinators for any of your needs. We are the go-to. Our team is the go-to. That is my favorite. That person trusts us with their business so much. They don't give us a heads up when they go out of the office, by the way. They just know when I'm gone, MTC's got it covered. And they don't need to tell us that they're going out of the office because we have them covered. We're good.
And if you think about it as an agent, all the conversation we just had about scaling and planning and all of that stuff, if I'm an agent or a team and I'm using you for services, now I don't even have to think about that stuff because it's Alex, the entrepreneur, Alex, the planner, that's going to figure out how to scale my business for me. I don't have to think about, okay, I'm doing enough units right now. Should I add a second transaction coordinator? It's just Alex is taking care of that for me. And I think that's sometimes what people don't see when they look at, okay, a fee for a transaction. They look at that cost and they think, okay, well, I could do it for cheaper, right?
Sure you could.
There's so many hidden costs there in time, and even that, business planning for the future, that person doesn't have to worry about it anymore because you're taking care of the planning for the future for me. I just throw as many files as I need to at you. And so, and then to turnover, training, being able to tell your admin staff what you actually want them to do. Now I don't have to worry about that because Alex's team does that, and so there's, yeah.
Yeah. So that we charge $350. You only pay us if you close. And you just touched on everything, Mike. You're not just paying for the offer. You're not just paying for what we actually do during the transaction. You're paying for the consistency and the dependability that we provide. Whether it is the night and weekend support or I don't have to worry about the turnover, or if, my trusted TC is out of the office, Alex has somebody else to replace them. I'm running a profitable, well-run business. I know all of my numbers. We have a fabulous team. Our agents have great coverage. It's similar to when you hire a coach and you're paying, sometimes $5,000 or $500 to $1,000 an hour to speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not only paying for the time they're giving you, you're paying for all the time of all the lessons that they've learned to ask you the right questions to learn the lesson that you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Our business is very similar. The vision that I have for the next 5 years of this business is anything that a real estate agent can't do from their phone in their car. I want our team to do that for them.
Mm-hmm.
The intent isn't to take away any jobs from executive assistants. It's to delay the process of an agent having to get to that point. And it's because, like we talked about earlier, a lot of times real estate agents, it's time consuming. Turnover is a real thing in this industry. If they have a slow month, are they going to be able to make payroll? A lot of people aren't interested in managing people and training them and making sure they're showing up to work on time. I love that piece of the business. That's one of my favorite pieces of the business, is the managing and the leadership of our staff. So I want to be that company where agents can send everything they need our way and trust that everything in their business is being run and operated properly. And then eventually there does come a certain dollar amount where it's going to be justifiable to hire in-house. Mm-hmm. And I hope they do. I hope that they do provide another job to somebody. We need more jobs.
So let's talk a little bit about Alex personally here. Sure. In terms of freedom for you and where you want this to go. What is the growth of this company going to do for you and your family? And where do you see this going in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah. So last year I had my first child. I had him in June. And the beautiful thing about having a baby is you have hopefully close to 9 months to plan for it. So we knew I was pregnant going into 2020, and then COVID hit. The goals didn't change. The plan that we had in place didn't change. It shifted a little bit, pivoted a little bit, and ultimately we knew what we needed to do. So for me, I had already gotten myself out of the files at that point, mostly because I'm just not a good transaction coordinator. I'm so sorry to any agents in the past where I ran your files for you. Boy, did you have a missed opportunity. You should really come back and try us if you've only had a chance to work with me. My team is fabulous. At the point where I found out I was pregnant with Warren, I was already out of the files. And I looked at my business and I said, okay, what am I still doing? If I had to write my job description, what is it? Mm-hmm. And there was 3 pillars. I was leading the team. I was handling the sales and the client relationships, and I was handling the day-to-day operations. So like the high level invoicing, finances, adding new agents into our processes. Mm-hmm. And I looked at those 3 pillars and I said, which one of these, or can I give all of these up? Or if not, which one can I give up sooner? Mm-hmm. And the first one was operations. So that's when I looked at Jill and my team. She had expressed huge opportunity or a huge want to continue to grow. And she was at the point where she was ready for it. And so we promoted her to operations manager. She helped cover for that first year, and especially while I was out on maternity leave. And then this year, we finally got her into the lead transaction coordinator position. So she's in charge of now leadership and management of the entire TC team.
Mm-hmm.
We hired Paulette, our director of operations, in November. So now she oversees operations and she owns at least half of the day-to-day management of the company. I'm currently looking for someone to replace me on the sales and client relationship side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So my only job description is going to be leading, casting the vision, and like those high level, like what a CEO should be doing of a company sort of tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Having Warren and getting, having that pregnancy, having the baby pushed my business forward so much faster than I otherwise would have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I realized I'm the bottleneck in my business. I can't grow faster than I'm willing to. The business can't grow faster than I'm willing to. How fast am I willing to go? And after having him, I just realized this business isn't supporting Alex for Alex's maternity leave. I need to flip this thing around. How do I build a business that it supports everybody, whether it's a maternity leave, a vacation, a job opportunity that they want,
Mm-hmm.
a certain financial goal for income that they want? And I finally got really serious. I always was passionate about it. I finally got really serious about it after having Warren. And
Mm-hmm.
I happened to be pregnant again, due in August this year.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's pushing the business even faster than it otherwise would. I would not be looking at a sales manager this year if it weren't for that case or
Mm-hmm.
for this happening. And by hiring a sales manager, it's going to make the new incoming business much more predictable, which is going to make hiring a transaction coordinator or processor or compliance coordinator much more predictable because we have the metrics on when we need all those things or all those hires, excuse me, which makes profitability more predictable. So all of a sudden, it's like our business can be a well-oiled machine. And I just couldn't see that before. And at the same time, I can provide a wonderful job with good benefits and good pay to somebody. And it's just been so fun. So fun since about this time last year when I finally got really serious about this to see the growth. And that's how we went from this bottleneck. We kept closing 1,300 transactions and we could not get past it for 3 years in a row, Mike. It's like, come on, what's missing?
Mm-hmm.
It's me. I'm here. I need to be missing. That's what happened. And now that we finally got that out of the way, here we're almost going to be doubled in staff in 6 months. Everyone's making more money. Our agents are happier because they're getting more services for the same amount of money and they're getting better service. Everybody's winning when I get out of the way. It's incredible. And I also get more time.
Yeah, because you have a new house. Now you'll have 2 kids.
Yep.
And you'll be able to, instead of Alex working 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Sunday, now it's you have a team of people that love what they're doing. You've created this organization that that can operate very well without you, and yet you can still continue to step in and build it. And so that is the ultimate freedom. And so you go from this young gal who just wanted to start doing transactions to now you've got a very successful business over the course of 5 years, and going from not being a mom to now being a mom to 2 here coming up. That's just amazing. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you. It's been truly just such an incredible opportunity. And I don't know how I got so lucky to have the team that I have and to work with the agents that we get to work with. I'm so wildly grateful for everybody who's been a part of this business and this growth. To have a business that's been operating profitably for 5 years, it's been so meaningful to me. And I can't believe that this is my journey.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And yet here we are. And I can't wait to see where we go for the next 5 years.
Cool. So then for those folks that have heard your story here and it's resonated, or they want to learn more about your services, how can people get a hold of you?
You can reach out to me for any reason. A lot of times after conversations like this, I get a lot of TC people or people who want to become a TC business owner who want to pick my brain. Please reach out to me if you're one of those folks. If you're someone who is feeling inspired and you're interested in hearing more about our company, whether it's to work with our company or to actually join our company as a team member, you can reach out to me. My email address is Alex, ALEX, at mntransactioncoordinators.com.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. I'm thrilled that you asked, and thank you for letting me share.
Hi, this is Mike Swenson. In addition to running this podcast, I also run a real estate team. And as you may know, there's lots of great agents across the United States, and there's also some agents that aren't so great. So what I want to do for you is to put you in touch with a top-notch agent no matter where you live. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in a home anywhere in the United States, we're here for you. Fill out our form at eliteagentreferral.com, and we'll put you in touch with a top-notch professional agent no matter which state you live in. And if you happen to live in the state of Minnesota, we'll be happy to serve your real estate needs. So make sure that you reach out to me at eliteagentreferral.com, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with a top-notch professional agent and give you great service no matter where you live in the United States. Thanks.